Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new show here on the John's Comics with Kids channel. I'm partnering with my homeboy Perry of Perry Comics. Hello, Perry.
Hey, how's it going, Mr. John?
We are doing a show together, Perry and I, tentatively titled AOK'd Book Club, with the premise of sharing things you really care about in the comic community with people that maybe have never read them. I know that I have plenty of blind spots, and they're always being pointed out to me. I thought this would be a fun way to not only experience some of those things for myself, but then share some of the books that I think aren't being read enough with other people in the community. It all started with Perry joking about Immortal Hulk. Perry loves to joke. I love to joke. It's fun. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is on this particular book because I think it's really a great read. And I came to Immortal Hulk not liking it, not interested. And the story turned me around. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to gift Perry one of the trades. So I Amazoned him one of the trades. He has been eking it out little by little, reading it along, stretching it over. Really, he's
a couple panels here and there,
right? Like a glass of wine. He's just savoring the Immortal Hulk spirit. And so today we're going to have a chance to discuss it. I'm very sorry to say that our buddy Chad 90 Miles from Comics had a work emergency and he has had to jump back to work. And I don't know that he's going to make it, but I have sent him the invite. And if he jumps in at some point, that would be great. But I'm going to run through the chat real quick, and then we'll have a little discussion of where we came to Immortal Hulk before we get into the actual story itself. Of course, TJ was first in the chat. Thank you, sir, as always. Nerds versus Geeks. Let's see. How do I get to be on an AOK Book Club member? We're going to discuss that in just a second. Nobody, no one. Hi, Alea Comic Bro. Hello. Come on, John. I've been watching the screen for half an hour. You could be on time. I could. But I was hoping to give Chad a little bit more time. JP Budget Collecting. Hello, Sam. I am 5 pages a week, and whether he has time or not. Yeah. He's got a great sense of humor. He's very funny and gregarious, and was willing to let us take a chance here on something. And, you know, it's popular, and it's hard to not like something that's popular, as I, with Deceased, have been dealing with. But at the same time, it's also hard to love something that's unpopular. Like I enjoyed Heroes in Crisis, and I know that a lot of people didn't. I think the fun of this show is going to be, you know, just testing those waters and trying to get a bigger understanding. So as far as what this show should be like, the goal is to have 3 people each episode, Perry, myself, and a third person. And one of the 3 people on the show will be gifted a trade paperback. And the other 2 people on the show that week will be sharing something they really love with somebody who is completely new to it. So it was going to be Chad and I sharing Immortal Hulk with Perry this week. And the next time we do this, Perry's got a book pick that he wants me to read, and he's going to find a partner to be enjoying that with the 2 of us. That's the overall goal. And as we go along, it'll be either a book that Perry and I love, and we try to find a newbie for it, or it'll be one of us trying to excite interest in the other one. So, Perry, how many issues of Hulk do you think you'd ever read in your life before this book?
I read issue 105 behind me, and I've read that 370, that classic Hulk cover, and that's about it. That's as far as my Hulk goes. You know, to me, Hulk has always been Hulk smash. I get it. It's good. You know, gamma rays, all that fun nonsense.
Sure.
It's just repetitive to me.
Thank you, Rod, for coming by. Just Rican, thank you for coming and supporting your comic triple threat partner. TJ says he's going to have all the Ross covers in a 9/8 forever in his collection.
Oh, wow.
And I totally respect that. That's an attainable and exciting goal. I'm just glad to have all the Ross covers, period. 9/8 is definitely outside of my realm.
That is the one thing I would say I like about this is the Ross covers. And that one you got right behind you all the way to your right, that face. It's funny because there's a news interview of Alex Ross, and they go to his house, and he's actually painting that cover.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool. But I love all the covers for this. And I hate to cover buy, but I did cover buy a few of them, but I have not read them until you sent me this trade.
Sure. And I will say Marvel Unlimited has everything up to the last 6 issues on their app right now. So that's what I did. This afternoon, I wanted to refresh myself, and I went in and reread the first 5 issues, which is this trade, which I can't remember. What's the name on the trade for this?
The Immortal Hulk, or is he both?
Or is he both? There you go. Later, there's one called The Green Door. There's one called Hulk in Hell. And I kind of feel like, I was mentioning to Perry beforehand that this story that Al Ewing is telling, this first big story arc, goes all the way through the end of Hulk in Hell, and that what we get here is like the prelude to the event that is this story. For me, I did not buy into it at the beginning when people were telling me it was good. Hulk is not a character I care about at all, and it was being described as a horror comic, and I'm not a huge horror buff as much anymore. So I skipped it, and then one day I had a very light pull week, and they had released a second print of issue 1. This was pretty early on, so issue 6 had probably just dropped not too long before, and I bought it. I read it, and I didn't like it. I read issue 1, and I was like, it's got some things I like. It was a little confusing. I didn't love it. But then the noise around these comics kept growing for me. And I bought another day when I had a small pull list. I bought like 3 other ones in this run. I did not get any of the hot ones. I think it was like 6, 7, and 8. And they were amazing. And I absolutely loved them. And then I went out and kind of seeked out the other ones because it was that good. For you, you're coming at it from the perspective of reading it in order, these first 5 issues. Did it feel different than other comics to you, or was there anything that stood out for you?
Well, first off, I think if I would have went to the LCS and picked up issue 1, I would have not have gotten issue number 2. I think the only way to read this is in a trade, and then you could make your decision if you like the book or not, because it was confusing. I'm still have hundreds of questions for this after reading the first 5 issues, and I don't know. Did it feel different to me? It did, because I have an image of Hulk in my head, and for some reason, when Hulk was talking, I was reading it in Yoda's voice. Like, I don't know what Hulk sounds like when he talks like that. You know, I haven't seen any of the movies, so I can't put a Hulk voice to Hulk smash. That's as far as my Hulk like voice goes. So it was really weird reading and hearing a lot of dialogue come out of Hulk.
So you're talking about, you haven't seen like the Avengers?
No, I have not.
What?
No.
But you're a DC guy.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I'm just shocked because these are very popular, and I'm surprised you haven't seen any of them.
Well, it's just like the comic. I'll look at an Avenger comic and I go, I see a movie trailer and it just doesn't appeal to me. You know? Sure.
So for those of you that are just getting in here, and I know Big Mistake just jumped in, Exploding Earths, I shouted them out the other day. They have a really cool channel, and you should definitely check out Exploding Earths. They do a nice episode every Wednesday of the books they got that week. That's really, really good. With Biggie Shack.
That was pretty spot on, Perry. Yes, it was baked.
This was pretty spot on, Perry. That was pretty spot on. What was spot on?
My take on the Avengers and Marvel books in general, I'm assuming. I guess I've been reading because I've been shifting away from DC lately, and my indie books have been growing like crazy. Right. And I really like it. It feels like a fresh take on comics for me, because I haven't really been exposed to indies. Because when I was younger, you could look at my comics from when I was a teenager, all Marvel. My early 20s was all DC, and now it's turning into mostly indie books.
That's cool. And I think I went through that kind of a phase as well. For me, it was the Vertigo years in the early 2000s. And I was getting away from Marvel, and it was really just Jim Lee and Vertigo for me. Somebody making some jokes.
He was talking about my Hulk voice. It's just weird hearing him talk.
I wanted to address another thing that we talked about before we went live, before we get into the story here, which can't be overstated for me. And I think it's something that I've seen true of most people who love Immortal Hulk and read Immortal Hulk. This idea that there is no really good logic for why issue number 2 is considered the like grail of this run. And I do worry that somebody who is unfamiliar with the Immortal Hulk going into this looks and is excited to read issue 2 like it's some huge important book. And in my opinion, it might be one of the worst ones in the whole run, but certainly in this first 5 issues, as far as like being important. And it's not what people should be reading it for. Does that make sense?
I read issue 2 and I'm like, all right, Dr. Frey, here he goes. Here's what I hear all the hype about Immortal Hulk about. That issue 2, the book that skyrocketed, a first appearance. This guy was from a TV show. I seen this cover right here as I was flipping the pages. And I'm like, all right, this looks pretty cool. This is awesome. I love this. And then I read it and I'm like, why are people paying more than cover price for this? I don't understand. This story was just a lackluster, if that makes any sense.
It does, yeah.
It just didn't do anything for me. I thought the fact that his son, Dr. Frey's son, being in the grave would have been, if they would have focused on that for the entire issue instead of going to Dr. Frey in a cave and all that nonsense. I think his son in the grave would have been a way cooler story, in my opinion.
Well, and I think we mentioned beforehand, there's several reasons. Somebody says in the chat, no one says that obviously it's a first appearance. Sure. But it's a crappy first appearance. It's not. Yeah. This is not a huge new character that's going to be hugely important later on. There's no evidence that they're ever going to revisit Dr. Frey. It's just random.
Well, it looks like they buried him, and it looked like they set it up for him to come back because that's how they ended it. And I'm reading issue 3, 4, 5. Or where the hell is Dr. Frey?
On top of that, it's connected to a TV series that with no chances of ever revisiting it in the TV series. So all the layers that make issue 2 popular are bizarre to me and to most Immortal Hulk fans who think this is a better story about Hulk. It's not about this Dr. Frey first appearance, which is not the reason to be checking in on it,
I want to say what Bake the Snake said is exactly how I felt when I was done reading the book. He said, my confusion is that Hulk has always been immortal. And that's kind of like how I feel. Like you see he dies, and then when he's dead and the sun goes down, he turns into the Hulk. Yeah, and it's really confusing. I don't understand that at all.
Well, yeah, let's get into the story itself. This first 5 issues really center around Bruce Banner as somebody on the run, hiding out, trying to keep a low profile, much like in the old TV series where he'd walk the earth, and solve little problems and Hulk out here and there and then disappear and walk down the road again. But the difference is this time he seems to be doing it out of like fear of who he's holding on the inside. There's a constant sort of werewolf-like discussion of day versus night, and the idea that at night he can't control it. This thing just sort of happens. It's the dangerous time. The Hulk being immortal is an interesting topic. The idea that this book presents, which is very new, is that the gamma radiation that was affecting him as a young man keeps him alive and holds him together. And when it was put into him, it opened the green door that you were talking about earlier. And things can come through this door.
I love that door. Like, I don't know. I used to play comics. I used to play World of Warcraft, and when I see that, it instantly reminds me of the game.
Totally.
That portal door, and it's like I love that cover so much.
Yeah. So they are constantly referencing this idea that there are things coming through this door, and it's not a door that goes horizontally. This is a door that goes vertically, right, to the place down below. And this character later on, the one down below, is sort of the main villain of the story and should be the hot key, in my opinion, but that's just neither here nor there. Immortal Shaq. Are you going live right now, Immortal Shaq? What are you doing? he's busted.
He is.
No hate, B. I'm just teasing.
He's funny.
So the green door in this first trade really is looking at the idea that whatever came from below is infested in all this gamma in this Marvel universe. You could argue that the gamma radiation in Marvel is a whole lot like the Speed Force in the Flash universe. And it's infecting people, and the way that artists and writers use it is always evolving and expanding, and new characters are pulled into it and get exposed to it. And so there's this whole Speed Force universe in DC, and there's this whole Gamma universe in Marvel, right? We meet Sasquatch here, and we have several other characters like She-Hulk, like Betty Ross, like the Red Hulk, that have been exposed to similar Gamma. And we're getting to see in Immortal Hulk what that does to them psychologically and physically. It will not let them die. And at night, anything that had harmed their physical being is rendered mute, and they are put back together again. Does that make a little sense?
Uh-oh, you lost Perry when you said Speed Force.
Go. Sorry, I bumped the. Sorry, sorry, Jack Yo. I meant to clear your. Never mind. Sorry, Jack Yo. Sorry, I lost who when I said Speed Force?
No, you lost Perry when you said Speed Force.
I thought a DC guy, man, you got so many holes. You're unwilling to expose yourself.
I told you, I'm not just for like publisher. I don't like the Flash. Like he's gonna go get me some tacos or something. Like I don't, you know, like. Oh man, I could go in a lot of so many characters.
So, anyways, what I like about it is it's the idea that the chemical radiation that he's dealing with has some very real connections to his physiology, his body, but also the underworld, right? What's going on the creature below.
Well, that's what these first 5 issues teased at. Like I don't like, regardless of everything I read, the only question I have is what's in the green door? Where is it? Sasquatch seen it in like Antarctica. Dr. Frey's son, as soon as he got injected, he was like, I see the green door, and then he just died and collapsed. So it's like they're hyping up this door, and I'm like, I want to see more. Like that's the only reason why I think I'm gonna get the second trade. Well, because I want to see it.
I think the idea is that whenever it's like whenever this energy is released, the door is opened wherever that happens. So if Dr. Lankowski, I think is his name, the Canadian gentleman who becomes Sasquatch, when he was in the far north and he got exposed to the gamma radiation, the green door opened for him. He was there, right? When Bruce Banner was a young scientist and his lab, and he opened the green door there as well. And you are affected inside.
When Sasquatch, when he opened that green door and he's seen the door, he said he felt something come and like possess him. And so I don't know. I want to talk about like this last story. Hulk kind of absorbed that from him.
Oh, you mean Lankowski? Yeah.
Yeah. So
the Hulk.
I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
No, you're not. You know what? There's this trade and ultimately this storyline expands the Hulk to cover a lot of powers, or at least a lot of elements of gamma radiation that were undiscussed up to now, or at least underrepresented. And the idea is that he absorbs gamma radiation. He can take it in. Now, most people, when they take it in, are dramatically changed as a result. And Hulk, we see him constantly absorbing it, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything until the very end of this trade when we see what he absorbed from the Sasquatch.
Yeah, because that's my thing is he's already dealing with his own demons that he's dealing with the Hulk. He's seeing him in a fork when he's eating pancakes. He's seeing him on the bus, and now he just absorbed someone else's demon.
Yes.
So like it's like he's gonna have this like a giant mind battle in his brain. That's what it seems like it's leading up to, because that's where it ended for me.
And the character of the Hulk has constantly been described as schizophrenic, right? These two personalities. But what I think this trade sort of begins to discover and dive into is the fact that these are all just parts of Bruce. They're all working together. and we get to see how they all sort of control different portions of him. There's been several versions of the Hulk, right? The Gray Hulk. There's Mr. Fix-It. Maybe you've seen him in the suit with Wolverine. There's this version of the Hulk. There's Bruce himself. And I think what they're trying to show through this storyline is they're all part of the same figure. And they're all fighting for dominance, but they're all interacting together. And so you get to see the reaction to Bruce knowing that he looks in a mirror and he doesn't see himself anymore. It's been a long time since he's seen himself because the person driving the car is not him, and it hasn't been for a while.
And it seemed like when he was fighting Sasquatch was like turning into his dad. And it's like, all right, now he's got daddy issues on top of everything. And it's like, oh man,
too, right?
Yeah, it's like, whoa, man, we're getting real. This Hulk book is getting deep on me now.
And I'll tell you, that was the moment when I really started liking this story. When you see, we've up to now, it's all these reflections, right? Hulk looking at, Bruce looking at reflections of the Hulk. Now we get to see the Hulk at the very end look at a reflection and see Dad. Yeah. It's the super creepy moment, and it happens a little earlier too when he looks in the mirror and sees what's really inside driving the Sasquatch, and the storyline in issue 13 where he's gone through the green door. It involves his dad and all the people who have died with gamma radiation on them. And where that takes them to the place below, which is wild and cool. I wanted to shout out Jeffrey Comic-Con Henson, a really cool guy. And I think it was when somewhere near the end of Hulk in Hell, he and I got together and we discussed the whole run. And it was a lot of fun. And I put the link to that episode right down below. So if we finish up here at some point and you're like, I just want to hear more about the Hulk.
I need more Hulk in my life.
Jeffrey is the man when it comes to the Hulk. And he was the first guy I thought of when I wanted to discuss this series. So you can go and click the link down below in the description for this video and find the video on Jeffrey's channel where we Hulk smashed. I think we called it Immortal Hulk Smash. It was a lot of fun. But the difference was I was the person learning about Immortal Hulk because this is my first big story of Hulk.
The student has now become the teacher.
Exactly.
Now, Bake the Snake says, speaking of Sasquatch, where's he been? I miss that guy. Do we not see him anymore? Because I really liked him as a character. He seemed like that jock, smart ass, like I think he gets everything he wants.
About Sasquatch 210, the YouTuber, but hard to know for sure. Now, the character of Langkowski, the scientist who becomes the Sasquatch in Immortal Hulk, he's a character that is in Immortal Hulk, the comic, like sort of scattered all the way through. We get a little bit of him in this story, and that's the big fight at the end of issue 5, right?
Yeah. In the hospital.
But he continues to play a significant part going forward. So you read it and you're like, okay, I got a lot of questions. And I will tell you, it's been true for me anytime diving in. So like when I first read Jeff Johns' Green Lantern trade, I was like, okay, who's going to debrief this with me? Because I need a whole new layer. Now I'm doing the same thing for the Flash. I'm reading early Williamson Flash, and I'm like, okay, where's Burke Nasty or Burke Family? I need somebody to break this down for me. So let me be the sounding board for you before we get into things we liked, things we didn't like, whatever. What were some of the questions you had about this story?
Well, I feel like I've been, a couple questions I've been asked right now. Like throughout the show so far, I've been kind of asking some questions. But one thing because they addressed it in the beginning of the book and they addressed it towards the end of the book, he could smell a lie.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a saying, but as I read it again throughout the story, I feel like that might be an ability that he has.
They seem to imply that this version of the Hulk has really intense senses. Not only can he sense gamma radiation like anywhere, like it just draws him like the dark side draws certain characters in the Star Wars universe. The gamma radiation draws him. And I think people that are lying to him, he can feel it and smell it, and like he feeds off of it. I don't know
that still doesn't explain how he found that guy who shot him in the gas station.
Yeah, exactly. So that guy shoots him. This is a version of the Hulk that is completely aware. He's not a savage beast. He can speak. He can think. He articulates perfectly. Like you mentioned, how does he sound?
How does he sound? It's confusing to me.
He's not a beast.
Yep.
But he's also not the Professor Hulk that we saw in the newest Avengers film that is like perfectly articulate. He's somewhere in the middle. And it's my opinion that he was able to trace the shooter from the crime scene to where he is. And in fact, that's what he says to the kid when he kills him is, you want to know how I found you? It's because I can smell the lie. The guilt on this kid for what he did is so intense. And the rage for the Hulk for having to defend another dead Bruce Banner is enough to drive him to seek it out.
To seek him out.
This trail of evil or whatever.
And another question I had was, this kind of threw me off, and I kind of wanted to like skip through these pages. I don't understand why they switched like artwork in the middle of an issue multiple times, and the artwork, it didn't flow at all. Like it just caught me off guard completely.
It should, and that was definitely to the design. I want to say that's issue 3.
I think it was issue 3.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No one reminds me. He did not kill the kid. He killed all the other cohorts.
And he just like put him in a hospital really bad.
Yeah. So that third issue has to do with the journalist who's following Bruce Banner's trail. And she is interviewing characters that we have seen Bruce interact with up to now. This bartender over here, this police officer over here. And because they're all telling very different stories than what we saw happen, the artist sort of does what I would call a Rashomon style. I don't know if you like Japanese films, but Akira Kurosawa is an amazing Japanese filmmaker. He did Seven Samurai, probably the greatest samurai movie ever made.
I don't know. I've seen The Last Samurai. That was pretty good.
Way better than The Last Samurai. Seven Samurai. He did a film called Rashomon, which was a very unusual film in that it sort of was told a little out of order and through perspective, meaning there was a crime and they go before the magistrate to solve the crime, and every person tells a different event, how it happened. And so you get these fun perspectives where you can see how one person would see it this way and another person would see it a different way. In this case, I think the artist is doing something very similar where they're showing perspective, right? And one character makes himself seem very noble, one makes themselves seem very timid and shy. People are hiding the truth of what happened, and the journalist is trying to suss it out, which is why in those sequences, each one is given its own art style, and they're all extremely cartoonish.
Yeah.
Because none of them are presenting the truth.
Which I get it. It makes sense, but it just, as a reader, I'm just looking at it like, all right, they could have done something cheap. A little bit better. Yeah, it does. It looks really cheap.
I think it's very intentional. And I dug it because it was an artistic element to show lying.
That's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, when you're looking at it through that lens, okay, I get it. But as me just sitting as like if I was to pick it up on New Comic Book Day, excited to read this new Immortal Hulk book everyone's talking about, and I flip over to the second page and I start seeing this like this is like, I don't, this artwork to me is just like, come on.
And if you watch each of those sequences, you're seeing people who've had gamma radiation that are either drawing the Hulk to them and he's stripping them of it, or they're calling other characters with gamma to them. The gamma is affecting characters in this universe. And what I would say is, I think anybody who tries to jump in on issue 2 or issue 3 is going to be woefully disappointed. Yes. I think it's a comic book that is hard to read casually. There are definitely comic books that I feel like, oh, I could skim read this and I totally enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And then there's Little Bird, right? Which if I tried to casually skim read Little Bird, I would be infuriated. I would hate it. It would make no sense. And I would argue that Immortal Hulk demands a lot, where you really need to spend some time chewing it over and thinking it over, because Al Ewing and I think it's Joe Bennett for the most part, they do things very intentionally. and you've got to sort of suss out why. And that doesn't mean you're going to like it. And that's the thing that you and I discussed several times is it's fine. Like, it's all about opinion. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. And there's no problem with it.
I mean, I totally get that. And I could see why people would really gravitate towards that. There's a book that, number one, makes you think, makes you want to reread it. But someone who's picking up 10 to 15 books every week, I don't have 45 minutes to go and reread another book and ponder my thoughts. When I got a stack like this, I got to read it. And then, you know, like, it's just, it's hard for someone
there's
like
definitely
me.
books I would rather read and just be entertained and not need to just like spend the little bird time where I really have to like have nothing else to think about. I really just want to absorb it. But it's like streaming a TV series like The Office that I've seen 100 times that just sort of like, it just feels good. You know, I don't need to fully listen to it.
That's what I feel about Lagoon. Lagoon is like the perfect example. You pick the book up, it's so easy. It's such a quick page turner. You're done in like 5-10 minutes, and it's like, that was enjoyable. That made me happy.
Exactly. You know? And I've got both kinds of comics that I pick up. Absolutely. For me, the Immortal Hulk is one that I know is like a main course, and I can't have appetizers, and I can't have cocktails and all this other stuff. I need that, and that's why I get into it. And it demands a lot, especially when they get into, my favorite part about it is this idea of identity, like, who are you? And he even starts talking it's the end of that first issue, and I can't remember who said it in the chat. I'm sorry if I can't remember who it was who said something about how the very end of issue 1 is what hooked them. And I could totally see that, because it's the best moment. When Bruce goes into the hotel room and he looks in the mirror and he says, "I'm the good guy." And he's like, "Aren't I?" And then the face that's looking at him in the mirror is not one that says yes, right? The one that's in the mirror is telling him, "You better believe you are not the good guy." And I think that that's a powerful moment that sets up this whole run. Chad says he's on his way home. He's heading home. Some people shouting out Goon is a killer.
Oh, yeah. Next week, Goon issue 5.
Oh, is it? Nice.
Yeah.
And let's go to Nobody No One's comment. He says the interior art is amazing throughout. And I would say
it's subpar.
I would say for me, it got better as it went along. And I'm a huge Joe Bennett fan from this run. I think especially the Hulk in Hell and the Green Door sequences are amazing. I think the first trade is still finding its footing. But by the end of the first trade, I feel like he's got it. And issue 5 is my favorite in this story. I think issue 1 is inconsistent. Issue 2, I think, is interesting on a reread, but I don't think it's this big key. I think it should be a lesser book in this run. And then I just absolutely love seeing Lankowski get killed and go to the hospital, and you're like, oh, well, that's too bad. That was a cool character. And then Bruce shows up at the hospital where the reporter is, and Bruce is saying, "You got to get everybody out of here. Like, I can smell the gamma radiation on this place. This is bad. You don't want to be here." And I freaking dig that. And it's the setup for issue 5, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I like the interior artwork.
Well, I know that when you read those first 5 pages, you were like, I don't know that I like the artwork at all.
Well, this is what, I'm trying to bring up the page real quick.
Sure.
It just, I was reading the beginning, and they're in the gas station, and then they're at the morgue and stuff, and it was just like, all right, this seems cool. But then they had this giant splash page, and I'm like, it just doesn't do anything for me. Like, it doesn't see. What
was the page right before that? I'm trying to remember.
When I think of Hulk, and I think of good Hulk artwork, I think of something like that. Like, if you're gonna spend a splash page, you're gonna do something with detail that looks, like, oh my god, this is insane. Not just like, meh.
I think the Bennett style certainly is more digital, less less lines. Like Jim Lee is known for having all those little detailed lines. Joe Bennett is not that guy.
Nope.
But what I think Joe Bennett does for me as a Hulk reader is I find his Hulk creepier and scarier than anybody else's. Everybody else's Hulk looks like he would be the hero in most ways. I don't feel that ever looking at Joe Bennett's Hulk.
Yeah, no, I mean,
so that splash page. What was the page right before the splash page? Where that fits into the story.
That's when I think when he shows up. I think this is the one right before.
Gotcha.
The kid with the gun.
So when he confronts the kid.
Yeah. So this has been my gripe with a lot of books: is you have these covers that are crazy detailed and look amazing, and then you open the book and the artwork looks nothing like the cover. Like I looked at this, I'm like, all right, this is gonna be pretty badass inside. And I look inside, I'm like, all right, well, I could see they didn't really go in depth with the details, like they just laid it out there, and which is cool. It worked for the book. The book looks great. I'm not saying it's bad, but
it doesn't match.
Yeah, it doesn't match with what my perception was.
Which is the state of modern comics too, right? Where you have only variant artists. I mean, I don't read Spider-Man very much anymore because I feel like a lot of it is totally random artists who do the covers. And the person on the inside is very different and not very, I don't enjoy it as much. And you could say the same for Batman. I mean, I know that they had all kinds of artists doing these amazing Batman covers that bore almost no resemblance to what's on the inside. And I do think it's a shame. What I do like about the Bennett and Ross covers is you have your choice, right? They have the Bennett does cover B, right? And then I think Ross does the cover A's, or the B is often the like carnageized variant or whatever. So they do give you a little bit of choice, but I agree those Ross covers are so good. I understand wanting all of the artwork to be Ross.
It would be amazing. But yeah, like all the reprints, which I know a lot of people were like, oh, they're getting mad about the reprints, how they were just taking interior art and slapping it on the cover. But to me, I think that was cool because it's like, all right, this is actually what you're buying. This is what you're going to get, guys. Like for instance, what really drew me into Usagi Yojimbo is Stan Sakai doing the cover work. You open that page one, it's the exact same thing. It's not clickbait. It's not a bait and switch. I think
it's super rare these days. I think Die, a lot of creator-owned comics.
Oblivion Song. I seen the cover and I opened it. I'm like, this is awesome.
And those are going to be the ones that still do that. I think it's harder for the DC Marvel universes to do that anymore because they know that covers sell.
And I think that's why I've been making that shift to indies, because it's like I'm buying what I'm getting. I'm not like rolling the dice at the LCS or on Midtown with, because I bought that book #Danger, which the cover looked amazing. It was beautiful, and I opened it and it looked like something that came out of like those old bubblegum cartoon pop art. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I just spent $5 for nothing.
Well, and TJ says the same thing. He said Marvel Spotlight 28 Legion of Monsters, amazing cover, and then freaking Frank Robbins is what he says. Now, I will say I don't know that book at all. I'm sorry. But I get the sense of what you're saying because it's incredibly common and it's very frustrating these days. Now, somebody's shouting out Joelle Jones, and it's one of the things I love about that Catwoman run. And I'm obviously a big Catwoman fan, especially the first 6. That's a first trade that's phenomenal. The first 6 issues, because she's doing cover A, she's doing all the interior art, and she's writing it for those 6 issues. At a DC, that's super rare.
Yeah, that's like
I was buying the Art Germ cover B, but reading it, and now I've been going back and getting all of her cover A's because it's just I enjoyed it that much. But that's a rare example of an artist doing triple duty, right? Cover, interior, writing.
Oh yeah, but yeah, no, like it is rare. It's rare to see that, And it's like I don't know, maybe that's what doesn't appeal to me anymore with like these big publisher books, because it's like I'm not really getting what I'm seeing,
Totally. And I think
the story doesn't grab me.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are getting turned off by that, and it's the story, the comics that are retaining value both for interest in reading and for money, I think are the ones that have a consistent level of talent.
Yep.
So if that's Venom with Donny Cates, if that's Immortal Hulk with Ewing and Bennett, if that's I'm trying to think of a good DC example. Give me a good DC example.
Capullo doing a cover and the interiors.
There you go, Snyder Capullo.
Which is why I like Capullo in those books, because it's like, I'm getting what I'm getting, you know, like I'm not being tricked.
Absolutely. And even if it's got a Jock cover, you're not looking for Jock on the inside because you know you're still getting Capullo on the inside.
Oh yeah.
Which I think that is actually a really great comparison to Immortal Hulk. I would argue that Bennett's work is not as cover friendly as Ross, but I do think he's able to panel tell a story where you don't get confused like you're missing something. You don't get lost in the story. The story flows well. Versus Ross, who can tell a great cover story, but I've had certain comics where he does the interiors that I'm not as enjoying the inside that he's doing. And I think you could see a Jock as a cover artist, Capullo as an interior, and a Snyder as a writer.
Oh yeah. Like I was doing my video for next week, my books. I'm like, oh look, Batman Who Laughs. My one thing I have to say about Batman Who Laughs that I do not like is the lettering. I don't like the lettering in the book at all.
Inside.
In the interior, yeah. Like that's another thing that'll throw me off a book. The story could be great, the artwork can be great, but if I can't read it,
absolutely, yeah.
You know,
I don't think a lot of credit goes to those detail people, the inkers and the letterers, because it can make for a book that's really confusing.
Yeah, hands down.
And some love for Joelle Jones in the chat. Hi, Just a Rican, Exploding Earths. She was an incredibly generous person too when I met her at WonderCon, and she signed a whole bunch of books, took pictures with my girls, was super friendly.
That's awesome.
But beyond that, just really makes good comics. If you haven't read Lady Killer,
I haven't, but I've been seeing the covers. That's when she's like in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, it's like
that looks so cool.
It's like Mad Men if the show centered around the stay-at-home wife on the side she kills people.
Side note, Mad Men is a terrific show, man. I started watching that. I love Mad Men. I'm like, damn, I need to get into a time machine, get myself a suit, and go over to Madison Avenue, you know?
Mr. Blazer, it seems like
I'm ready. I'm ready for that time machine.
So for me on Immortal Hulk,
I'm sorry. I tend to go off the rails, John.
No, it's fine. It's fun of it. I think the reality is, the challenge of a show like this is you're going to have people coming to this really raw, versus people that are really into it and have been reading 20. What are we on now? 22 issues.
Yeah.
And I still have a whole lot of questions. They're constantly reintroducing characters from the Hulk universe. His girlfriend Betty Ross, her dad, General Ross, the one who's in several of the Marvel films. They're bringing back these characters of old, and a lot of times I don't know them. I'm not a huge Hulk reader, so unless they like Doc Samson is a character that I've seen the covers. I don't know that I've ever read a Doc Samson story, but what I do get is just enough knowledge, and they fit in with this idea of the Hulk gamma radiation universe well enough that I'm able to kind of follow along with it, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, it does. And I gotta say, after reading the entire thing and not just the first 5 pages, it's not a bad book. It's something that I wouldn't typically pick up. Something that if it wasn't for the Green Door, if they would have kept the exact same story but not had that door, because I think they could have had the same story without the door.
Sure.
And it still would have been pretty much almost the same thing. But if it wasn't for that door, that's the only thing that's making me want to go out and, all right, where's the second trade? I gotta find out what the hell is in this door. I gotta see what's going on, you know?
And it plays into, I mean, ultimately it's a metaphor, right? For hell. This idea that punished spirits and malevolent people can have a place and be trying to, in like a poltergeist kind of way, try to inch their way back into our world. I think that's definitely a big theme for this run, and the corrupting power of that evil spirit. And it's certainly something that's taken over Bruce in the storyline that we're reading right now. And you get a lot of that, like coming out of the grave, dead skeletons, the skeletons in your closet, those things that are haunting us is a big part of this.
Because I feel like my mind, I always like to do like a little fan fiction of what's gonna happen. Like I like to like make up my own stories. How crazy would it be if like all these like you say poltergeists, like all these crazy demons and ghosts start coming out and start destroying the world, and then we're gonna have to have the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men. Everyone's like, Hulk, what the hell did you do?
Trying to figure out where my box is here. Let me grab out the next few covers if you want to see them.
Oh yeah, because I think I started picking them up with issue 11.
Okay.
Mistaken. Just because the covers they were so cool, I couldn't not pick them up.
So the first 5 are the ones that we reviewed, and it ends with this battle with Sasquatch here. Yep. So my favorite ones are the next whatever through issue 13. So that's for me the first 13 issues are the story, and everything after it is not as important. So here we have the dad in the mirror.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Hulk, freaking out, trying to destroy something that's inside of you, right? Which is a consistent storyline. Next, we have the Avengers being called in to try to stop him.
Oh,
they finally catch up to him, and you have She-Hulk. This the version of She-Hulk that's in story right now is this. She's beastly. Hey, Chad!
Hey, Chad just finished reading Immortal Hulk, the first trade.
You just finished. It took me that long to get here. Good job, Perry.
Still got 5 pages.
What is going on, guys? I'm sorry that I am late to the party. I appreciate you guys holding it down. But
I'm running through kind of what the next storyline is and kind of where it goes from here. But then we'll get to you, and you can talk a little bit about book 1 and kind of what that all meant for you.
Definitely, for sure.
So everybody in the chat can say hello to Chad. We're glad to have him here.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everyone's patience with me. I apologize. I had an emergency at work I had to go take care of, but now I am back. I rushed home. I'm not even ready. I don't even have any of my stuff out.
I love that shirt. That shirt's killer.
Yeah, I had a whole Hulk shirt I was gonna wear and everything, but
don't worry, it's all good.
But here I am, gonna get the chat popped out. Appreciate everyone for joining us. And if you're not reading,
the Avengers trying to catch him, and of course, my all-time favorite cover, I think you mentioned, was the jars, or maybe somebody else in the chat was mentioning all the.
Now, what does that mean? Because I know he dies, he could be dismembered. Are those all different parts of him?
Yes.
Ooh.
And they're all alive, and they're all working, and they're all aware. It is freaking gross and phenomenal.
So he's like Lobo. He could grow himself back with just a little bit of himself.
He can't. He needs those pieces to come back into contact with one another. So they show a guy slice his heart in half and peel it, and then they put the pieces close enough and they heal up and it starts pumping again.
Oh, that's freaking cool.
It is freaking creepy as heck.
That's cool.
Now, this is a character called the Absorbing Man. He battles the Avengers and stuff a lot. He has this ability to sort of absorb. So if he touches adamantium or whatever the shield vibranium, he can absorb it and become made of it.
Like Rogue.
But he touches inanimate objects, so like metals and.
Okay.
So he absorbs gamma and then tries to pull the gamma out of the Hulk. It's pretty badass sequence. And then, of course, we have, that's 9.
I think
10 is that red door I showed earlier. And then 11 is
the one. Yeah, that's the one that I started getting.
Hell.
I seen that. I'm like, all right, that just looks too cool. Not
with all the evil spirits. So obviously, this is the stuff on the other side of the green door.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right? And you get this beast called the one down below, the one below. That's sort of
below all.
The one below all. Sorry, yeah. And somebody was telling me that this is a cover based on Dante's Inferno. This is like one of the a very old painting that is like a throwback. So you'll see this cover a lot. Like I found a Savage Dragon that had the same pose.
Oh wow!
And I think I put it on my Instagram side by side, the two covers, because I thought, oh, did they do an homage to Savage Dragon? And somebody's like, no, dude, that's a very old homage.
Now that's weird that gamma rays are green. The door is green. The door, like the stuff coming out the door is green, and then hell is red.
Well, of course. Well, how could hell be anything other, right?
Yeah, bro. Come on.
I mean, like it's a comic book. They could make hell green.
No, yeah, man. I think that, but I think you want some contrasting colors. Otherwise, you can get really bored as a reader. But you do need the fiery inferno of hell. I think they have this is the green light. This is the final issue in the run through issue 13 here. You get that the power of the green light and the a spirit trapped inside of it.
Oh man, I just seeing that door, like I said before, how it reminded me of World of Warcraft.
Sure.
And what I guess in World of Warcraft they have something called Fel, which is like green fire, and I guess that's where I put 2 and 2 together. Like, all right, hell is green, but I don't know. I guess that's just how I thought of it.
So let's jump over to Chad for a second. Chad, we had some great discussions going on around the Hulk and these personalities living inside of him. I don't know where you came at Hulk as a character. Can you talk a little bit about like what you've read from Hulk before this and your thoughts on the personalities of Hulk?
So before, I guess, reading this, the most I've read Hulk-wise was probably like more modern stuff, being like Planet Hulk, Return to Planet Hulk, and that type of thing. So I haven't had too much introduction to like that older stuff. And I've mentioned this before too. Hulk, since I was little, was one of my favorite characters. And when I got into collecting, it's not one of those characters you hear a lot of good stories about, So when I started collecting, I didn't know where to begin with collecting Hulk. And then, of course, I get on YouTube and I become friends with Jeffrey Comic-Con Henson. And he just opens up my eyes and light to. So now my whole collection has grown so much. And I have a lot of reading to do because I've got a lot of older Hulk now with better storylines. A lot of people like the Peter David run, from the 90s and stuff like that. So definitely check that out. A lot of people also enjoy that Professor Hulk, well, not necessarily enjoy the Professor Hulk because they say it was kind of boring then. But this, to me, is one of the best storylines just in all of comics outside of just being Hulk related. I just think what Al Ewing is doing with the whole horror aspect and bringing it back to the origin and kind of like those original Hulk books is, my favorite part about this. I do love how he's gone back and looked at the history of Hulk and has incorporated all these different personalities of Hulk and things that people have seen. Now, I won't lie. I have read some Mr. Fix-It Hulk. That's some stuff that I have gone back and read.
Well, and I think that it's cool that as much as he's drawn that from that stuff, I was mentioning earlier, I don't know anything about Doc Samson, but I can enjoy the story that they present because they give you just enough of that background to let a novice get something out of it.
Yeah, and what Doc Samson, he's actually another doctor that just so happens to get exposed to gamma from Hulk, and then it turns him into some sort of gamma human being as well. So that's kind of like his origin, but he's just a cool character at first, kind of like a villain, but as we even seen in this, not just in this run, but even in that Red Hulk run. Maybe I have read more Hulk than I thought because I did read that Red Hulk run. And Samson has a good, he plays a big part in that, in like tracking down Red Hulk and everything like that. So, I mean, I guess you could say he plays that, of course he was brought in as a villain, but he kind of plays that anti-hero character at times in a sense, because at the end of the day, he still has his gripes with Hulk and Banner and whatnot. But nah, man, I like how Al Ewing, like I said, he's just incorporated, like, he brought in Mr. Fix-It and the different personalities and like how, he's struggling to kind of control everything, and that's just like one of the aspects of this book that I just have absolutely loved. And in the first arc, and I heard you guys mention it too, that first issue definitely is to bring you in, and it kind of like starts off right there, and you really don't think about it that way, like, all right, who am I? And then once you start to see himself, one day Fix-It comes out, the next day you got Devil Hulk, and he's talking about how he's here to destroy the whole world and whatnot. So you're just like, man, this whole split personality thing brings a whole nother aspect to Hulk that no one's ever really done it in this way. They've kind of just taken one personality and ran with that, Yeah.
And they do stuff involving like the limits to his power as well. And I think that's something that that I found really interesting. Is it's not just like he's forever able to just come back to life again and again and again. He gets shot in the head and he's dead until they put him in the morgue and the sun goes down.
Yeah, and then
right?
that's so awesome, right?
So other villains later on start trying to use UV light to control him. They can kill him, and as long as they keep him in UV light,
can't come back.
He still thinks it's daylight, and he can't. The Hulk can't come out.
I read the first trade. What are you guys doing to me?
But hey, bro, you only got to issue 6, and you were like, "Yo,
I
I'm
only got
out."
to issue 5. That's all the issues that came in this book.
This is fun. I'm trying to point out that
Yeah.
like the universe, the understanding of his powers is constantly expanding through these.
For sure.
Now they're at 22 issues, I think is the next one.
Now
Yeah,
I heard both you guys mention the word horror. After reading the first 5, I didn't get any horror at all out of this. Does
The
it come
second
later
arc,
on?
I feel like the second arc kind of starts to play in more into that. But also too, I mean, and even the third arc, because then he starts going to hell. Like you can't really have hell without a little horror, Perry. You know what I mean?
I would say that the reason people are calling it a horror is because they've strictly kind of made Hulk a villain here.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
the first trade, you have him like hunting down people to kill them. Like it's a very werewolf-like story where we're on the side of the werewolf. Like we like the werewolf. We want the werewolf to kill these awful criminals. And there's this like creepy power that the Hulk is sort of surging on, especially in that first issue where basically he's murdered, he comes back to life, and then goes out to kill all the people who murdered him. It's very... It has a horror element. Now, I will say it's not graphic, but later when you're talking about heads in jars and being eviscerated and stuff, like it gets graphic. But I like that the horror, at least at the beginning, is not as just gratuitous. It's more just like this creepy vibe where you're like, should I really be cheering for the Hulk? Like, I don't know that I should be cheering for this character.
And I get that. I felt that. I felt that when he went after the guy from the gas station, and it looked like he killed all the bad guys in the house, and then he put this kid in the hospital. I was like, all right, well, this isn't your typical superhero book, like this isn't, let's get this guy and give him to the police. It's, we're gonna beat this guy into a coma and keep going.
And I think the other reason why people say more horror as well, because when the sun goes down, like in every horror movie or anything like that, the sun goes down, and then that's when the monster comes out. Exactly. Yeah. Monsters, and I think that's the whole horror aspect of it, because to John's point earlier, you only ever see the Hulk when it's dark. You don't see him at night, because at night it's Banner. And I guess spoiler alert for you, Perry, but one of my favorite scenes is it's daytime. Doc has got Banner like on his back, and they're going back to the original, Gamma site, and Doc sees that he's running out of time because the sun's coming down, and he's trying to get more questions from him. And he's like, yo, I got one more question. And Bruce is like, well, we're out of time, man. I'll see you next time. And then bam, the whole morphing comes, and then now it's Hulk, and then he's like, why are you here? It was just cool stuff, bro. You got to check it out.
Yeah, I think Bear Island is like, I want to thank Perry for being a part of this experiment. Like this is like out of his comfort zone. He's trying something very different, and I appreciate.
He's reading Marvel, yeah, bro. Of course,
I'm wearing a Marvel shirt. For God's sakes.
No, I'm saying reading a character you've never read before that's super popular, but you're like, I don't have any interest in this character. I've been in that position a bunch, and it can be both like exhilarating and infuriating at the same time. And so I want to thank you for doing it. There's no reason to take shots at the guy or tease him. I thank you for doing this.
Yeah, man.
I like that Hulk in this story is made the villain, and that's for my interest. What I really got out of it was a chance to place a hero off the pedestal a little bit, and be worried about what is this hero going to do, which doesn't happen a lot in comics, where you're like, I'm really worried. Is Batman going to kill that guy? You're not really worried. Like, I'm sure Bruce will do the right thing at the end. I'm legit worried several times of what the Hulk's going to do.
And they really make him out to be the villain throughout the entire series, for sure. Like, just with, of course, everyone chasing him and whatnot. And then just, I guess you can say, the report. I mean, the only person I feel like that really is kind of trying to get the truth or has a side is probably that reporter. You know what I mean? Where everyone else is just straight out to get him. You know what I mean?
Now, is she trying to get the truth, or is she trying to like become like him? Because that's what it
Mhm.
seemed like at the end of issue 5. Like she's like, "How do I be like you?"
Both.
Yeah.
Legitimately, she had that encounter that she describes where she met the Hulk and looked
And
him in
looked at him in the eyes. Yeah.
and I think it affected her in many different ways. And so she certainly wants to understand it, but she also envies and wants that experience.
But
Pretty cool.
an awesome character. I love like how they brought her in and that whole little side story, and then what they've done with Betty and all that good and
For
fun
me, it
stuff.
all culminates in Hulk and Hell, where you get all of that. The journalist is there, and he is there, and Dad, and all the characters who've been exposed to Gamma, including the Absorbing Man, and all that. I mean, that storyline, it all builds to that really, really well. After the stuff after, I think they were finding new footing and like, where are we going to go from here? And it took a while to get really great again, and now I think it is really, really great again. And I'm hoping it finishes strong. I hear issue 25 is going to be it.
I like that cover.
I
That
hear.
cover is awesome.
That's what I hear too, man. But how are they going to do that without giving us the big red guy? That's what I want.
The Red Hulk, you mean?
Yeah, man. Like to me, it's been teased because if you think about it, or if maybe they're changing it away from Immortal Hulk, and hopefully Al Ewing is possibly still writing it, and they're going to change the name or change the arc or whatever. But like, I feel like they've set up seeds throughout the entire series for the return of Ross.
Definitely.
And I would love to see that happen,
Yeah, so for Perry, I had to learn this later. There's like a storyline involving a mysterious Red Hulk that's out rampaging, and everybody thinks it's Bruce, but they don't know for sure. And at the end, it's revealed to be General Ross, this guy who's always sort of hunted Bruce, and that has somehow been affected by gamma radiation himself now, and he is the Red Hulk. Now, he has died, and the hinting through this whole saga has been that if you died and you had gamma radiation in them, you're slowly going to heal yourself back, coming alive again. So all of these sort of former characters from the Hulk universe are coming back out of their grave like horrible gamma radiated zombies.
Another horror thing you can kind of say to it, because they're all supposed to be dead, and now they're all jumping out of their graves and running around on the earth,
which they show you in that green, through the green door in that green universe.
And then
you said this is like Hulk in continuity. This is like
this is continuity.
So after issue 25, even if this ends, whatever Hulk comes after this is going to piggyback off of this.
Definitely. Yeah. And the Hulk that appeared in the War of the Realms, and the Hulk that appeared because is he in the Savage Avengers or something? There's a Hulk that's in like another
No Road Home.
The Defenders, No Road Home.
No Road Home, yeah.
Is this Hulk? It's this Hulk.
Okay.
I don't know how that fits in with this story, where it clicks in, but it's supposed to.
Yeah, I don't see where it clicks in yet either. But him in No Road Home was awesome.
Definitely.
When he that one panel at the end where he's on the horse, he's got the freaking sword, and he's
I have them. I haven't read. I have the whole run.
And he's like, "I am the knight." So good, so good. I'm all about it. I love me Immortal Hulk so much that I went out and did this. Like,
oh man,
there you go.
I got one signed.
I that's how much I love Immortal Hulk, man. I love me some Hulk for sure.
I got that Mark Brooks signature on it, which his signature is horrible.
I still have a raw copy I could possibly get signed at a con, but I was just, man, I don't know. I love this run. It's one of my favorite reads. I know John's on the same page as me. Hopefully, Perry, we can convert you. If not, we understand.
Hey, I already read it. That's the most. Hey, it's like pulling teeth, man. You pulled enough teeth. You pulled 5 issues out of me. You might pull another 5. We'll see.
It's true. But
if you've enjoyed these guys, their channels are linked down below. You got to check them out. Chad and Perry drop content regularly. I think, Chad, you do a show every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Around this time, I think, right? And Perry does his show with Rod on Rod's channel every Tuesday, but he's dropping edited videos almost every day of the week.
I'm pumping.
No, he's cutting down. He's on vacation. We saw the video the other day. He's got to, tone it down a little bit.
Well, the thing is, I went so in on all the comic book videos, and I'm like, man, I really enjoy playing video games. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to cut 50% of my time to comic videos and now 50% to just playing video games. I gotta have some enjoyment in my life.
TJ asked a question: does it take place in 616 universe?
I thought it did, and I thought it was in continuity almost completely. So I'd be curious to know the exact details. I don't know that anybody has fully laid it out for me.
Yeah, I would think so. So,
and Biggie Shaq is back. He just dropped a video.
oh, I gotta go peek that when I'm done.
So
what up, Biggie?
The idea of the AOK book club is that we would, Perry and I, look at what books to do each time around. And I think, Perry, you've picked the book that I'm supposed to read for next time. Am I right?
Yes. Well, yes. Well, depending on the guest, if they're able to, then we could do that book. Or I mean, there's so many trades. There's so many trades that I want y'all to read.
I'll just be the guest because I probably haven't read it, and I could be on the whole show.
You're like, Chad, Chad's like, I wanted to be on this show.
Bro, I wanted to be on this so bad. Like, you have no idea. I was so excited for this. And then, yeah, I could tell you guys off air what happened. But
we'll make up for it, Chad. We'll do something special. Just get some time.
Hell yeah. Volume 2 with Perry. Can't wait.
hey, if I get the AOK of the second trade,
I can possibly get you, digitally.
That's so freaking awesome.
Oh man, but yeah, no. So I've been really enjoying it because you see, I was talking about the indie books, man. So Grumbles has been a book that nobody really talked about at all. It was a hot book. It was a spec book because of issue number 1, because of a secret variant and all that rubbish. But that kind of appealed to me. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, the cover looks cool. Let me buy it. I read it. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And then I just been reading it, and it was on my pull. I'm like, no one's reading this book at all. Like, nobody's reading Grumbles. And it's been a fun book. Like I said, The Goon, how I read The Goon, and it's a fun, easy story. This is just like it. So the trade just came out, so I'm going to shoot it over to John. I'm going to find, hopefully, Delphia and Kachun have read it. They could jump on with us and talk about it, or we could find another community member that's been enjoying The Goon, and we can make John read an independent book.
So that's the goal, is that there's 3 people on every time, Perry, myself, and a guest, and that one of the 3 people hasn't been exposed to that trade paperback, and the other 2 are fans and can kind of like encourage the enjoyment of a new story for somebody. So this time around, it was Immortal Hulk. We'll see what we're back with next time. Maybe Perry will be OBSing us and hosting next time we do this. But that's the goal of AOK Book Club. If you think that there is a book that we should be looking at, or if there's something you would like to read but you've never had a chance to read, drop us a line. I know that I've got an idea and I want to talk to Mr. Biggie Shaq. So Chad's going to hook me up with Biggie's email or something so I can get a hold of you,
brother.
So Biggie, check your email for me, and hopefully we can hook up for something coming up here soon.
And who knows? You might see John reading Batman Who Laughs, Hey,
worse things have happened. Nothing else, I'll get a kick out of reading a cool book and hanging with you guys.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah.
So thanks everybody for coming. Have a great night. I will be on with Perry on Friday night, late night. So definitely check that out.
Spit up a boot. What's it called? Cough up a boot?
I threw up a boot.
And real quick before we get out of here, John.
Yeah.
Because all the 90 holics in the chat, they know that YouTube is 90. And you can find Y290 defending his cover championship against that stupid idiot, The Tone, tomorrow night on that Tony Sanders show. So make sure you guys go check me and The Tone out. Tomorrow night, we're going one-on-one for the cover championship once again. And the theme is 15-cent covers. So I'll see you guys there as I retain your cover champion. Drink it in, man.
I'll tell you, the slab down was amazing, and I was driving home. I had a 5-hour drive. I listened to Perry was on. He did a show. I listened to that. You did a show, and it was hard. I was driving, but also trying to look, because every time Biggie Shaq put up a new book, I was like, okay, I gotta look, but I'm not gonna be able to not remember. I'm gonna be traumatized every time. I know. I'm just impressed that video is still on, that you haven't been banned, and that we got hashtag free 90.
Yo, I was thinking the same thing. Plus 84 is there, so of course they're watching him on the channel. Like, oh, what's this guy doing? So I was thinking the same. Like, I'll say this: like, the moment that Biggie Shaq went, you know what, we're on 90's channel, I just knew. I'm like, uh-oh, we are all not ready for what's about to happen.
Well, dude, he showed that first one, and I was like, okay, whoa. And then a little later, he was like, oh, if you didn't like that one, just wait. I was like, oh, dude, now I'm sweating. Like, I'm just sweating, waiting. What is this book going to be? And he did not disappoint. And I will say I voted for 2 of his books. I think I voted for 3 out of 5 Hialeah, but it was really close. And he did come out the win fair and square. And I'm excited to see what Biggie does given a second round where he goes.
Yeah, well, he's got Jack Kirby next. And Jack Kirby.
I love me some Kirby.
So he's got the category of Kirby next. So no, I'm excited to see what's next with Biggie Shaq. But this Sunday, the slab down back on my channel, 90MF Comics, I have Bake the Snake versus Burke Family Comics set up. But there might be a possible. I do know Bake is getting a root canal done. So we might, yeah. He said possibly he plans on being there. But if not, we got a matchup ready to go just in case, and I'll leave that under the wrap so that way it can be a nice little surprise just in case we got to use it. But this Sunday, the Slab Down tournament continues on 90MF Comics, so make sure you check that out as well.
Immortal Biggie says John loves Smut and he likes Savage Dragon. Hey, Savage Dragon and Smut go together, brother. They happen in unison. There are several really risque and one downright like faithless style cover for Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon 225 might have one of the most raw covers. It's polybagged and everything. Like you just.
Hey, you seen the new Faithless by Jenny Frisson?
Yes.
A lot of people have been saying that kind of looks like Wonder Woman.
It was classy. I thought it was a classy cover. It was not like graphic. It was certainly no.
It was like a little Wonder Woman with a top off, you know.
No, it was a beautiful cover, and I think you were making a joke about how she wouldn't sign it. She'll totally sign it.
Oh yeah, no. Boricua Comics, I think he got it signed in Puerto Rico. That's cool. You know, going up to be like, hey, you mind signing this city?
If you make a piece of art and somebody wants you to sign it, of course you're going to sign it. You put your effort into that. It's not like you're like, oh, that's really inappropriate. Come on. Everybody will sign those things. All right, so I'm going to head out of here. These guys are awesome, and I hope to see all of you Friday night when I'm hanging with Perry here. And earlier Friday night, I'll be in the chat watching that cover championship action with my boy Chad there. So good luck, Chad.
Thank you. I got this. It's cover championship. What I do, baby. Back-to-back cover champ, universal hunt champ. It's all happening once again. Just be on the lookout because YouTube is 90.
And Perry said YouTube is Perry. All right, guys. Have a good evening.